Good evening. Welcome to the webinar on the occasion of World Hearing Day with Wisdom from Masters, the long journey from inception to birth, organized by Doctors for Society in association with WDW IMA Rewadi, Lalita Memorial Hospital Infertility Center, Rewadi, with ROGS. On behalf of Jackson Pal Pharmaceuticals Limited, makers of Lycorate soft gel, Epitone syrup, and Crampov, I'm Dr. Vipin Tyagi, along with my teammates, Dr. Deepika Chabra and Mr. Amit Saxena. Thanks, convener of this webinar, Dr. Seema Mittal, Infertility and Endoscopy Specialist, Director, Lalita Memorial Hospital Infertility Center, Rewadi, Past President, ROGS, and Dr. Ghanshyam Mittal, Founder, Doctors for Society, Director, Lalita Memorial Hospital, ART and Blood Bank, Rewadi. Welcome all esteemed faculty present with us today. Welcome to all the attendees. Please post your queries by text in the Q&A box to be answered at the end. Please note this webinar is streaming on Facebook Live. The recording will remain on Jackson Pal's YouTube channel for reference and promotion. I will now request Dr. Seema Mittal to kindly initiate the session.
Hello, very good evening to all of you. At the outset, I would like to thank the inspiration behind this webinar on World Hearing Day, our respected Dr. Sneela Garg ma'am. And friends, in India, 63 million people suffer from significant auditory loss. 4 in 1,000 children suffer from severe to profound loss. Approximately 1 lakh children in India are born with deafness, which, if not treated, can lead to permanent speech loss. Hence, it becomes imperative to share knowledge with masters in the field. We welcome Dr. Piyush Sir, President API. He is President Indian Academy of Pediatrics, and Sir is renowned academician, teacher, and National President of Indian Academy of Pediatrics. He has published more than 2,000 papers and awarded by Royal College of Pediatrics. And his thrust areas are nutrition, child survival, and medical education. Welcome, sir. We have with us Dr. A.K. Agarwal, sir. He is President, Sound Hearing 2030. Sir is ex-dean, Professor of Excellence, Department of ENT, Maulana Azad Medical College. And it's our pleasure and privilege to have you with us, sir. And we are really thankful to Sneela ma'am for having you here with us. We have our esteemed chairpersons for the session today. We have Dr. Pavan Goel, who is president of Rewadi IMA, and he has number of publications in index journals and is founder, member, and advisor API Rewadi. Welcome, Dr. Pavan Goel. We have Dr. Manish Taneja. He's young, promising doctor from Rewadi, and he's the leading practitioner in pediatrics today, and he would be chairing session today. We have Dr. Kanwar Singh. He's owner of Mahima ENT Hospital, Rewadi, and he's a postgraduate from PGI Rohtak and General Secretary of Haryana AOL for last 3 years. Welcome, Dr. Kanwar Singh, sir. And we have Dr. Bhushan Patil, Senior ENT Consultant, Meher Clinic, Gurugram. Friends, why do we need obstetricians and pediatricians for this webinar? It is very, very important because they are the persons who are touching the baby for the first time. So next slide. So why are we involving the pediatricians and obstetricians? Because they are the first line screeners. They can detect those persons who are likely to be hearing impaired. They can send such persons for early diagnosis, and we, the pediatricians and the gynecologists, can stress the need for early rehabilitation. And this may not prevent deafness, but definitely the ill effects can be reduced. So it can save a child from suffering the fate of a silent, lonely existence, and many parents from the heartache of wondering how they could have saved their baby from this misery. So their advice can save many children from becoming deaf and can ensure good opportunities. And today, when we have the masters, Dr. Piyush sir and Dr. Arun Agarwal sir, so I would request them to say a few words of wisdom. And obstetricians, I would like to give a message that they must ensure good antenatal care and avoid ototoxic medications, especially during pregnancy, encourage institutional deliveries and prevent birth asphyxia, and ensure availability of resuscitation equipment and pediatrician. And identify any high risk for deafness in the antenatal, natal, and postnatal period. This becomes very, very important because first 3 years of life, if it is diagnosed, it can be managed to some extent, and the deaf child will not become dumb also, but if not detected, then it is miserable. So parents, guide the parents regarding the hearing screening, and if need, it needs method, and refer to district ENT hospital or the departments. We have today with us Dr. Seema Pruthi, is working on project NEEV. We have Dr. Nishi Gupta, who has been working on rehabilitation of deaf children since very long time, and we have Dr. Sachi, who will be telling us about the technical details. So we will be generating overall awareness regarding the need to identify hearing loss early, and the fact that despite being hearing impaired, a person can lead a normal, economically and socially productive life. So pediatrician has to ensure that there is proper resuscitation, there is nursery ICU care, and all neonates should be referred for universal hearing screening wherever it is available. So friends, with these words, I will request the chairperson for today evening, Dr. We can just skip the slides, and I will request Sir Dr. A.K. Agarwal, sir, to say a few words of wisdom and enlighten us on this very occasion of World Hearing Day. Over to you, Dr. A.K. Agarwal, sir.
Good evening, all my colleagues in front of me, my friend Dr. Piyush, President of Pediatric Association for entire India. Of course, my own colleague Dr. Sunila Garg and Dr. Ghanshyam Mittal, Dr. Seema Mittal, Dr. Pawan, Dr. Manish, Kanwar Singh, Dr. Patil, and from MEMC, Dr. Seema, and others. Thank you very much for this kind invitation. Today, we had our 9th World Hearing Day, which was started in 2013. And of course, today was very significant because along with the World Hearing Day, the World Report on Hearing was launched. Today, perhaps this gathering is there more to talk about. Let me not talk about the big figures regarding the suffering due to hearing loss, which according to latest report is approximately 435 million people suffering with disabling hearing loss all over the globe. India is always in forefront as regard hearing loss is concerned. These numbers are increasing and increasing. And in case we do not do anything strategically, perhaps we'll be touching 700 million by 2050. And as regard main important causative factor of hearing loss, needless to say, there are hearing loss which are dealt not only by ENT surgeon, but my pediatrician colleagues of otitis media, but especially presbycusis, ototoxicity, noise-induced hearing loss. But a very important, though less in number, is the congenital hearing loss. How much is the load of congenital hearing loss? There are figures, somewhere in North India, 1 to 2 per 1,000 live birth. In South India, it is 4 to 5 per 1,000 live birth. We are adding 30, 40,000, even more deaf children to our society every year. And as per one study, the average age of detection of hearing loss, it is an old study, even in educated family, was 1 year, 11 months. Now we have improved our perhaps detection, but still, we all know in ground reality, we are not able to detect the hearing loss at the earliest possible stage. And here comes the role of our obstetrician colleagues and our pediatrician colleagues. I had a word with Dr. Piyush. I had a word with Dr. Arvind Garg, who is husband of Dr. Sunila Garg, actively involved in API. And the concept of neonatal hearing screening. I fully agree, Dr. Seema, that a little neonate born belongs to you, belongs to pediatrician. You are the caretaker of that little bond. And in your SOP, in your practice, you are there to screen the child. So I fully agree that besides many more screenings of various parameters, the hearing screening, because now we have technology. And it is our responsibility to create an ecosystem of technology, not only in city of Delhi or Mumbai or Madras or Chennai, but in each and every city of India. And of course, we always feel that in case we are able to detect, suspect hearing loss by 1 month, diagnose by 3 months, and do some sort of intervention in terms of hearing therapy, hearing aid, cochlear implantation, by 6 months, I can assure you that child will behave like a normal person in future. That sort of approach today, we have just now heard our Honorable Health Minister, Dr. Harshvardhan, and the way he has committed. India is taking a lead in this field all over the globe. Me and Sunila are the part of WHO expert group. We are taking a lead, but how can we take a lead without taking every one of you together? So we are here to request you. I'm so happy that Rewari, which is perhaps, I keep hearing about Rewari, so many things, but somehow I could not visit. I promised Dr. Seema I'll visit Rewari very soon. And with all of you, we will take the task of looking after the deaf children in such a way that they are part of society as a normal person. This is our promise. Thank you very much for having me, and wonderful. Please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the finest guidelines. And thank you so much for being with us, sir. We know how busy you are. Still, you spared your valuable time. Thank you so much, sir. And I now request our President, Dr. Pawan Goyal, sir, to introduce Neela ma'am. She is the driving force for all our endeavors.
Good evening, friends. Today, for this wonderful webinar, first of all, I would congratulate Dr. Seema, who always takes initiative to contribute to the society. And I have been given the task to introduce Professor Dr. Sunila Garg. She is National President elect of IASPSN. She is Professor of Excellence, Director Professor HAG. She is ex-head and sub-dean of Maulana Azad Medical College and head community medicine. She is Harcharan Orator IAPSN, Kian Rao Orator IPHA, and she is fellow in HIV medicine, fellow of WHO, fellow of DFID, and she is advisor to government in ICMR, member task force for DBT. She is advisor of CBN and honorary secretary general and director Sound Hearing 2030, Maulana Azad Medical College and Associated Hospitals, New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Sunila Garg, to share your experience and your thought. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Seema, and thank you, Dr. Ghanshyam. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nishi, and thank you, Seema, for being a part of this. And as Dr. Agarwal already mentioned, he is not only our, role model, but mentor and a I'll say a perfect leader to take the country towards a greater height. He mentioned about, Dr. Harshvardhan, but let me tell you, the person behind him is also Dr. Arun Agarwal, because today I was there in that meeting and I realized that basically, minister can only work on directions. He started the program, everything's all right, but minister has multiple responsibilities. So, what is WHO's thinking, what is, how we are going to go in different directions. And yesterday, Seema, we were talking about Mission Neve also, and rather Dr. Arun Agarwal was more, informed about Mission Neve because, you laid the Neve in front of him. So that's where it becomes all the more very important to look at the critical issue. And so, by the way, Seema is also from Sevagram, so we form a close network together.
And also my sister.
Yeah, and
The only thing I know that anybody I meet from Sevagram is having a different attitude and dedication to a profession.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we'll all go to Rewari once.
Thank you, sir.
I'll take you, sir.
Thank you.
So I'll start with why do we celebrate World Hearing Day? It's going to be more of, from the purposes of, the cost effectiveness and all. And then let me see that, how with our journey, because as Dr. Agarwal has already mentioned that hearing loss is on the rise. And as he said that by 2050, now we can expect around 750 million because of different interventions, what we are having. Now, what does it mean for India? What does it mean for different countries? Because we know that it is going to, more and more, you feel that if there is increased loss, hearing loss, then it will cause increased cost to the healthcare systems. There is loss of productivity due to employment, because if he made a mention about, the universal newborn hearing screening, and Nishi, you also, Seema, you also talked about that, you have a lot of children who are, if they are not attended to, this may lead to loss of productivity later on due to unemployment. There is increased need for ear and hearing care services. And also, you see, we are talking about multi-pronged strategy where we will be requiring more and more human resources. So unaddressed hearing loss poses an annual global cost of $750 million, and $1 now approximately is about 75 rupees. So India is a very big country when we are talking of 137 crore people and 63 million from moderate to severe hearing loss. So you can imagine, we have not taken into account right now the mild hearing loss. So this is where is the cost consideration and what are the factors responsible, because we have got, on one hand, there is a population growth, and on second hand, we do have aging population. So there are currently 7.5 billion people who are living in the world, and there will be 10 billion people by 2050. That is the growth which we are having. And we have aging population by 2050. The number of adults older than 65 will double. That is important thing to remember. So we will have the other end of problem also, that is presbycusis. Just to tell you that, so our newborn, have to be very strong. And in morning only the health minister pointed out that a person at the age of 100 also should be able to hear as much as a person who is younger. And the number of adults older than 80 are going to triple. Now, this trend can be controlled how? Because we need to see that primarily over 6 million people live with disabling hearing loss. And it is expected or predicted that by 2050, nearly 1 in 10 persons are going to have hearing loss if we don't act now. That is where is the importance of, one of the importance of newborn hearing screening. There are a lot of pediatricians who will, because they are treating children. So early diagnosis, management, treatment of infections, or, basically taking through all the adolescent period also, because pediatricians are taking care of adolescents also. That's where we can, and, we are now dealing with another problem, that is recreational hearing loss. And all of you would have seen the young children listening to music devices, and all this poses a double burden actually. So it is anticipated that 1 out of 10 could have hearing loss in 2050. But however, this possibility could be avoided through prevention and timely and appropriate interventions. So basically the risk factors over one's life impact hearing. And some of these they include, which already we began with, genetic factors, maternal and childhood infections, ear infections, noise, ototoxicity, and aging. So these are also the priorities of our National Program for Prevention and Control of Deafness, which was launched somewhere in the year 2005. And we began with the pilot phase, and I was lucky to be a part of beginning of this program. And then again, ear infections, approximately 330 million people are affected globally, and most of them are experiencing disabling hearing loss, because you see, they do not go to the accredited provider. So that is one of the important reasons. And this can also be avoided by early diagnosis and treatment, and that is where the pediatricians are going to play a very, very important role, because parents are visiting majority of the times, the pediatricians for even the discharging years, and ENT surgeons by the by virtue of their profession are already involved. But I'm sure that majority of the children, they first like to they are visited they're taken by the parents to the pediatrician, and that's how basically it is important to standardize and sensitize our pediatricians also, and have their standardized approach. And then another thing is ototoxic hearing loss, because you see, we are very well aware of the fact, despite the government regulations and all, the ototoxic medications are available over the counter, or they have liaisoning with some of the pharmacists and all, who can give them aminoglycosides or chemotherapeutic agents. And these are the powerful tools basically of medical care. On one hand, we know that, but they must be used wisely. So this is one thing which is on first and foremost agenda of our government, because again, you must remember, India is very big. And we all know that in our family, that once the person has gone, he has been prescribed a medicine, and next time also, if he suffers from the similar infection, though that may be different in nature, again he will go and buy antibiotics and have the same thing. Or our people are very much so-called, they presume to be self-informed, and they will go on the counter and just they will say that I need this particular antibiotic and all that. So this is one thing which needs to be regulated really very, very strongly, and this is where all the associations need to come together. And I am also a national president-elect of Organized Medicine Academic Guild, which is a combination of 15 professional associations, which also includes Indian Academy of Pediatrics, FOXI, and all that. So that's where each of the associations has to come together and complement each other. Now, another important cause of hearing loss is that which is known as occupational the noise-induced hearing loss due to occupation. This is the second most common cause of work-related ear injury. Some countries are very strict. They have implemented policy to prevent occupational noise-induced hearing loss, use of protective devices, and regular audiological monitoring, which can reduce the risk. Another thing which I was talking, in each of your houses, please be very much vigilant. Over 1 billion young children are at risk of hearing loss due to the way they listen to music. Please, pediatricians, ENT surgeons, or gynecologists as mothers, please pay attention to this. So they are listening to music on personal music players, in entertainment venues like concerts, sporting events, and bars. So increasing awareness and appropriate legislation can reduce the risk. And also, organizations like WHO and all are having a dialogue with the manufacturers of these music devices and all, so that music can be controlled. But at the same time, we as parents, we as doctors have to take action in this regard. Another thing is that we have to do a preventive action to halt the rise in prevalence by controlling mother and childhood infections through vaccination, education of mothers. And this is where the role of obstetrician comes, because mother comes to you throughout her antenatal period, and one of the talking things can be soon after the childbirth, or in the institutional delivery. Some vaccines will be given before discharge, and then the mother should bring the child, or the parent should bring the child at the regular intervals. And I'm sure all of you would be agreeing with me in this. And then prevent hearing loss caused by ear infections, which is through early identification and treatment of ear infections, regulate noise exposure at the workplace and at play, and monitor the use of ototoxic medication. Then again, that was the preventive part. We have to identify and intervene to reduce the impact of hearing loss by establishing screening programs in people at risk, particularly when we are talking in context of babies, in context of school children, in context of older adults. And particularly today's focus is on, children and mothers and all that. So basically, or, for the pediatricians and gynecologists, so we need to look at that we do have adequate screening programs, universal newborn hearing screening, particularly at, in the private setup where you all can have an access to, newborn hearing screening. That is there, and pediatricians have to be well versed with the standard treatment guidelines, including our ENT friends also, and provide ear and hearing care services for people with hearing loss or ear diseases, and make hearing devices available, and promote communication through sign language and captioning. Another thing which is very, very important is that we say that after 6 months, sir had pointed out, Dr. Agarwal, that we need to fit in cochlear implants or hearing aids and all that, or basically for the children who are requiring. And also at some age, suppose the child is requiring this, but remember, this is a kind of a I'll say tapasya in Hindi, that's a word. After fitting of these assistive devices, it's a big exercise for the parents to be patient and see that the child undergoes constantly speech and hearing therapy, and there is no compromise on that. Another thing is that there is action for the governments, that we already have policies where we have integrated ear and hearing care programs into our healthcare systems, right from sub-center PHCs and all. And Rewari is very strong in terms of the association, and you have a very good commissioner also who takes interest in the primary healthcare also, as well as till the district level. So these programs have to be part of universal health coverage, and you regularly must take advocacies to raise awareness amongst policymakers and civil society. And I'm sure you will be sharing the minutes of this meeting with your commissioner, also build capacity to address human resources and ensure access to hearing devices and communication technologies. And as a healthcare professional, educate on risk, refer patients for tests or treatment, monitor patients taking ototoxic medicines, and support those who need hearing devices or sign language. And as part of civil society, please see that we all are part of civil society, but as fellow colleagues, we do need to educate our communities also. We have to educate with policymakers for resources for hearing care, disseminate awareness and behavior change communications also. And please remember, whatever awareness material is required, I can assure you on part of Sound Hearing 2030 that right from newborn till from pediatric to geriatric, you will have enough of educational material which has been developed under aegis of Sound Hearing, along with Department of Community Medicine, Maulana Azad Medical College, and lot of material is being shared by Dr. Seema also. Engage opinion leaders and media and advocate for and support the government screening and awareness program. And then also we need to look at our trainings, and please, Obs Gynae Society and Pediatrics do come together, have the standardized training programs, and ENT colleagues should make available, along with audiologists, high quality affordable hearing devices and other communication services, and adopt legislation on sound exposure. Raise your voice against noise. That is one of the important things. So Dr. Agarwal had mentioned, that we have been celebrating World Hearing Day on 3rd of March. So few of the themes which I will just be, telling you. In 2015, we had theme of Make Listening Safe. 2016 focused on childhood hearing loss, act now, here is how. 2017 focused on action for hearing loss, make a sound investment. If we need to have, hearing loss under control, we have to make investments, we have to diverse our money. And this year, the health budget has been little better because of pandemic. But if you really look at it, still it is not a sound investment. 2018 talked about hear the future. 2019 check your hearing. 2020 don't let hearing loss limit you, hearing for life. And now we are in 2021, and this is the logo, that is hearing care for all. So we have to screen, we have to rehabilitate, and we have to communicate. So we are all here, in terms of this activity. So different awareness programs can be organized at one's convenience. So this is important. So these are some of the glimpses of World Hearing Celebration, whether we talk in, and I know once I went to Rewari for youth program, and you had about, I think, 3,000 and about children, who were there. So these are the ways, in which, we can go to different settings. And one of the good examples is our, marathon race and all that, which we organize in the, different settings. And this is where we are doing with the help of I believe there is a person from Medtronics also. And you can see Dr. Agarwal himself in the community setting who is doing the examination. And this is also our reaches towards paramilitary forces, where we sensitize them also. It is not only the normal civil society, but we go out of the way to look at that part also. And this is where we are having the different kinds of stakeholder meeting, and our joint secretary is also here. So this is WHO. You can download this WHO app, which is known as Hear WHO app, and you can check your hearing. So I have to say this, we have to all hear for life. So it is important to have hearing care for all. So this is not the beginning. I'll say this is the starting of the whole long journey. And I wish you all the best on this World Hearing Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for one of the finest talk. It was such realistic and sensitizing talk, and we promise you that we will try to follow the guidelines that you have recommended. And now I request Dr. Manish.
Dr. Seema,
Yes, sir. Right, sir.
I'll just take a minute.
Right, sir.
Since I have to go with my family somewhere,
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you and take your permission to leave the meeting. But of course, as Sunila has very amply clarified, the each and every need of ear and hearing care. And I'm sure I always say that create a success story. And that success story can be any city, any town. If Rewari can create that success story, will be the happiest person.
Thank you, sir.
It should be quoted all over India that Rewari has done it.
Sir, your presence is definitely inspiring, and it was our pleasure and privilege to have you with us. And we are really thankful to Sunila ma'am for bringing you here on this platform with us, sir.
Thank you. I will take your permission to leave.
Right, sir.
Thank you, Sunila.
Now I request Dr. Manish Taneja to introduce the much awaited speaker for the evening, the one who was an inspiration then also is today also will always be the most inspiring, Dr. Seema Pruthi Kapoor ma'am. And over to you, Dr. Manish, to introduce this dignity here in the webinar. Over to you, Dr. Manish.
Let me introduce you to Dr. Seema Kapoor ma'am. She is the Director and Professor of Pediatrics Department. She is in charge of Division of Genetics and Metabolism at Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi. She is currently coordinating a Center for Excellence in Biochemical Genetics. She is a member of Task Force for Metabolic Errors by the ICMR, member of Advisory Board of IVF and Reproductive Biology Center at MAMC, New Delhi. She is a member of Task Force on Lysosomal Disorders by the ICMR. She is a member of Science and Education Committee in ISNS, member of Asia Pacific Human Genetics Group. She is a reviewer for Indian Pediatrics, Indian Journal of Pediatrics, Journal of Pediatric Genetics and Metabolism, also World Journal of Pediatrics. She is a member of Small Molecule Group Registry, member of Central PNDT Committee, member of the National Newborn Screening Committee, Disability. She is on the Disability Board for Ellen Hospital for Evaluation of the Challenged Children. She has authored 150 index journal publications in national and international journals. She has been awarded 25 gold medals during her MBBS and awarded the President's Medal for the Best Medico Lady in 1982. And she is an International Traveler Award to PhD students for JDDW 2018, APW 2018, and SIEM 2018. Over to you, Dr. Seema.
I'm indeed humbled actually by the introduction. And I would just like to say that I am actually blessed to be here because I have in front of me role models like Dr. A.K. Agarwal. I have Dr. Sunila Garg. And more so, I also have Dr. Arvind Garg because he is also an inspiration in pediatrics, as ma'am has actually been a thorough inspiration. So I think we should skip the introductory slides. It makes me completely humbled by the introduction. But I would definitely like to say today that when I started newborn screening, I will just go to my slides. So when I started newborn screening, I hope I'm able to share my slides with you, and I'm going back. So on the screening platform, I thought there's nothing better than metabolic screening. And then came this new program, which was launched in 2013 as Rashtriya Bal Swasthya कार्यक्रम. So if you look at Rashtriya Bal Swasthya कार्यक्रम, it looked at disabilities, it looked at deficiencies, it looked at delays, and it looked at diseases. So my idea of starting a blood spot screening was immediately scrapped. They said, no, you can't do screening only on the blood spot. You have to be more holistic. And nobody better than a pediatrician can understand how well and how important it is that I'm speaking for a gathering who's catering to the biggest, even more common disability than the blood spot, which looks at hypothyroidism. So keeping this in mind, we proposed a program under Dr. B.K. Agarwal at that time, and we put that as Mission NEEV. NEEV in Hindi, as we know, is the foundation, but the acronym also means Neonatal Early Evaluation Vision. And with this, we actually let's go to what actually. All of us know that every child deserves a healthy start in life. So as pediatricians, as doctors, we actually have a reactive approach. That means you have a disease, treat it, and you're really happy that the end result is good. We don't have a proactive approach. That means look when it's not apparent. Look when it's more personalized. Look when it's more predictive, preventive, and look at Dr. Sunila Garg. She heads the department. She was our ex-dean, sub-dean, and she knows that how important a public health program can be. And if I just talk about a decade back, or maybe 2 decades back, it was immunization, and today it's newborn screening. If you look at collectively what it does, maybe it saves 1 in 300 lives. And while I was presenting it to the bureaucrats, I actually told them that if you are able to save 1 baby every day in Delhi with any one disorder, maybe what you have given to the population is an asset and not a liability. And that's the basics of newborn screening. So the screening has to be holistic for both point of care testing, which includes hearing and pulse oximetry, as well as structural birth defects. And let's look at what today we have. It is such a big coincidence that today is also the World Birth Defects Day. So 3rd March is universally celebrated not only as Hearing Screening Day, but also as World Birth Defects Day. And let me just tell you that amongst all birth defects, about 20% of them with major congenital birth defects have hearing as a component. So what can be better poised than this coincidence that you're having World Hearing Day in collaboration with Birth Defects Day, collectively looking at reducing morbidity, mortality, and giving the country an asset and not a liability. Now, who and actually can do this newborn screening process, and can we actually translate it to a city like Rewari or a big city like Delhi or a small town where I belong to, Dhanbad, which is in Jharkhand? Well, one very good thing is that we carried out this program with the help of 12 past students. They were actually just inducted into the program because that was the only fund that was available to us in the year 2017 when we did this as a pilot with Science and Engineering Research Board. And remember, if you just teach any paramedical health worker, even a 12th class post student, that you need to screen for all the disorders at 24 to 48 hours before discharge, believe me, they can easily understand and perform it. So newborn screening in India actually can go to the masses if our youth is educated. Ma'am showed us a slide in which how at Rewari you could generate that 3,000 youth population. If you can do that youth population in Delhi, you can work wonders, because today's social media, Twitter, WhatsApp, and Nukkad Nataks, everything will go to the media close to their hearts and tell them, look, this is what you're missing. Very important, because they don't understand that this can actually exist. They have a defiance. they don't feel that their baby could be affected because they have nobody affected in the family. And therefore, screening is really more difficult than diagnostics because they come as a public health person to you, they seek advice. When you go to them and you ask them, they have a different forum. So it's here that we really need everybody joined together to raise awareness that newborn screening is not diagnosis. It's looking for disability, which would come to you much later on, which would actually be picked up when probably it's really difficult to treat or maybe not completely modifiable. So let's look at what could be the goals. So today you can have these major birth defects, you can teach them to the ASHA workers. And we had a small sensitization session with ASHA workers. And believe me, all of them were really interested because they have seen all these and they can actually integrate them into their routine clinical view that they have had in the villages. And if you look at the birth prevalence, it's really high and responsible for 20% infant mortality. Ma'am just showed you a WHO app. And I think that will be very important for all ages. Similarly, we have an app for our program, which is called the Mission Neve app. I think here all of us agree that Digital India is the way to go forward. Now, what is a very important part in this is that all of them are linked in one platform. They could be birth defects, which could give rise to hearing abnormalities. It could be metabolic errors. So believe me, hypothyroidism untreated in the first trimester of pregnancy can actually reduce your decibels of hearing at birth. And this is an important message to the obstetricians. This is a message to all the gynecologists who are there in the forum that 9 months the mother is with you. So please educate the mother that there could be errors which may not be visible. But if you look at these errors and you can find out these errors, please come back to the health worker. He's not calling you for research. He's calling you back because you need help at that time, and the help rendered at that time actually can go a long way in preventing disability. So this app will also give you a unique health record and unique ID, something like the electronic health record that would be there. What also it does, it gives you an each and every part where you can actually register what all your child has. So if you look at genetics, we are sharing a common day, pediatricians, obstetricians, ENT fellows, and all my colleagues, that we are actually celebrating 2 days in 1 day. And I think that message should go.
Put it on slideshow.
Yeah. So that message should go that there are a lot of birth defects which may be associated. These birth defects are genetic in origin. And if they have a genetic background, probably picking them up not only will treat their hearing defects, but will also treat what are the other issues that may be there along with this. So the best part, I think, as pediatricians and obstetricians and ENT surgeons, that almost everything can go hand in hand. So I just explained that it could be done by any public health worker. It requires good physical evaluation, and this is the app for Mission Neve. Any Android platform can download the app, and you can actually go and see how it integrates almost all birth defects, which are metabolic errors, heart diseases, with one single thing. But very important is once you pick up a child, and Dr. Sunila Garg mentioned, Dr. Arun Agarwal sir also mentioned, that there are timelines. And I think Dr. Seema Mittal very rightly said that this timeline is most important. If you haven't discharged it, maybe you can have an Indian adaptation. Try to do it at the time of birth, at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks. If not, 0, 1, 6. Because that's why they're going to come to you for immunization. Even if you have missed a child at that point of time, you would definitely pick up the child well within the critical period. If you offer treatment and rehabilitation at this point of time, you would really be able to do so. Now, this Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram also links you with something called District Early Intervention Center, where you have all the people together, the speech therapist, the audiologist, and probably this will be a very important link up in the Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram. So Neve will integrate with RBSK, and that can occur at every city because you have the capability, you have the ground force, you have the knowledge, and everybody can do it. So yes, I think this everybody knows in the neonate, it's defined at a detectable level, which can pick up more than 35 decibels in the better ear. That's got good hearing. So why do we actually need it? And there are some criteria that you need to understand what newborn screening should include and why hearing was one of the important targets. So is it possible to do it by a cost economical test? Yes. OAE is a sensitive tool and now available every year. And if you look at total diagnosed population, about 7% will have congenital hearing loss. Now, let me just divulge some basic important two genes that are there. That is connexin 2016 and connexin 30, which is responsible for 30% of congenital deafness. This deaf society tends to marry in a deaf. So there is mating between two deaf individuals, but if they have two different gene mutations, that means they have one as connexin 26, the other as connexin 30, the chances that he will have a deaf child is 0 because they're autosomal recessive. So tell the parents there is a chance that even if you're mated in a deaf community, you can actually give rise to a normal child and you can go and learn and live together another life with this child. So if I think this is very well said, maybe expressive and cognitive development go hand in hand with hearing. So there is all the reasons. So let's look at the frequency, and Indian data suggests 1 in 1,000. Hypothyroidism is 1 in 1130. So it's even more common than a common target. So if you look at 1969, the whole world started screening for congenital hypothyroidism. And it was only in 74 that hearing was added into the perspective of universal newborn screening. So it's important that you understand that it could be as common and as important. And yes, what is it actually giving rise to disability? It's the second most common cause of people living with disabilities. So many years lost. It's justified to include this. Now, what thing that you should do? You can do OAE screening with the normal low-risk population, but for the NICU population, up to 24% of NICU graduates might have hearing loss. And none of them are actually screened at any city apart from few very common private hospitals or very big metropolitan cities. Here you require another technology, which is called the ABBR. So as pediatricians, we need to give the message that any NICU graduate with 1/4 of the population having susceptibility to deafness should be screened before discharge. So I think no better platform like this. And I think SEMA has been very, very active in organizing webinars, in communicating to people, giving important messages. So please give all the obstetricians, all the pediatricians that don't discharge a NICU baby without hearing assessment. Very, very basic principle. And of course, if you look at the normal low-risk population, here also, it's 1 in 1,000. So please follow the 136 or the 036 principle. And if not, integrate into the 6, 10, 14. We have adapted everything from immunization to hearing. Maybe we will adapt this in India to 6, 10, and 14. What is very, very important, it actually is not a single point of care test. It involves everybody. Primary care physicians, specialty, and public health, and families. So we owe this to the family that we should screen. Screening is much more than a test because it's from education to screening to follow-up and evaluation, and then long-term treatment. So Nishi is there and she knows how important when she sees all of them coming to her at a point of time where prelingual phase is already gone. So the importance of newborn screening and hearing amongst us top priority, I think is very, very important. So I think everybody's contribution here is equally important. This pilot has been there because all of you were there. This pilot is there and NEEV should take a bigger platform. I mean, almost all cities should be engaged in it. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for talking straight from heart. It was really an insightful presentation. And your talk always stimulates us to do something better. And before I invite Dr. Kanwar Singh to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Nishi Gupta. And she's a pioneer in endoscopic DCR, and she has revolutionized the ENT surgery. And I request Dr. Kanwar Singh to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Nishi Gupta, who would be speaking on this World Hearing Day on a very special topic. Over to you, Dr. Kanwar Singh, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Seema. It's very nice to be associated with you and for a wonderful webinar. I have been given the task to introduce our own Dr. Nishi Gupta. She is Associate Director and Head Department of ENT at Dr. Shroff's Charity Eye Hospital, New Delhi. She got her MS degree from prestigious MGIMS, Wardha, Nagpur University. Has been associated with MGIMS, Wardha for close to 3 decades, where she has done extensive work on endoscopic sinus surgery and microsurgery. She has written a book on DCR published by Springer, Operative Faculty for Endoscopic DCR at various national and international platforms. Many publications in index journals. Over to Dr. Nishi, please.
Thank you, Dr. Kabir Singh. It's really nice to get introduced by our ENT people. Ek apnapan feel hota hai. I'm really grateful. It's really nice, and I'll just share my screen. You know, in fact, like Dr. Seema said, Dr. Seema Kapoor said that Nishi must be seeing patients. We celebrated the World Hearing Day today, and there were 2 children who were 5-year-old. And when we told them, the child was born deaf, and the mother started crying when we said nothing much can be done. That's because despite having so many government programs, like we have EDIP program by government, where free cochlear implant are given to all these children who cannot afford surgery, but the plan is to implant them before 3 years of age, because after that, due to cerebral spasticity, the implant doesn't work that well. So despite having this free scheme, they were not aware, and unfortunately till 5 years the hearing was not screened. So it really makes us feel very bad sitting at the tertiary hospital when we see patients who report so late, and we are running so many community programs, but the awareness and lack of willingness to seek treatment, all this we can modify only by spreading education. So this is the place where I work. A brief about my area of interest: ear care, micro ear surgery, endoscopic sinus surgery, and of course the endoscopic lacrimal surgery. And some of the books that I published, as Dr. Kabir Singh just mentioned, this is the latest edition that has come up with Springer. So coming to the hearing impairment, we know hearing impairment, a lot of speakers have talked about it. It is one of the most critical sensory impairment with significant social and psychological consequences. And failure to detect children with congenital or acquired hearing loss may lead to lifelong deficits in speech and language acquisition, along with poor academic performance and personal, social, and behavioral problems. So in congenital disabilities, hearing loss has a substantially high incidence, and as mentioned by Dr. Seema also, it is up to 1 to 3 per 1,000 children. And if the child is in NICU, the incidence goes to much higher and becomes 24 to 46%. So if we look at this World Health Organization figure, there are 32 million children who live with disabling hearing loss. And 17% of these children have birth-related causes. So as Dr. Seema very passionately described about how bad she feels, how we can pick up, she talked about reactive and not proactive approach. So I really like that we all jump on treating the patients, but prevention is the first thing. And if we can rehabilitate them at that stage, then they can grow with the normal children and can go to the school and develop their normal milestones. We have the facilities, we have the technology, but the only thing that is lacking is awareness. And of course, also the ear care technician that we often talk in all our lectures. So hearing impairment can be detected if the hearing can be screened, preferably before 1 month of age. And universal neonatal screening rather than the targeted high-risk screening is the ideal. In Western countries, it is the norm these days that the children are not discharged after delivery till the hearing screening is done. So the first test that is done is OAE. And if OAE is detected, if it is abnormal, then it is repeated at 6 weeks, because there are certain conditions like ASOM, wax in the ear, which can give you false report. So it is repeated at 6 weeks or on the first immunization visit. If again it is abnormal, then ABR is the next test, because I think Sanchi will be going in technical details of what is the difference between OAE, which tests basically the cochlear tones and clicks, and this is for the nerve. So she would explain in detail about OAE and ABR. So the ABR is done for confirmation, followed by full audiological evaluation and treatment with hearing aids. If there is some residual hearing left, I don't know, probably we work in the area where their consanguinity is more. We get a lot of patients with children with severe sensory neural hearing loss. And if they can very well be rehabilitated with the hearing aid, but it is surprising to see why they report at 13 years, 12 years, and then they're too poor. We have programs, we have our collaboration with NGOs where we provide free hearing aids to them, but somehow they reach us very late, and by that time the speech and language is already delayed. And as also Dr. Seema mentioned, that all NICU babies should undergo ABR testing to rule out any auditory neuropathy. So what is the need of early screening? Because there is a critical window of diagnosis, and the treatment of deaf should be done during this window, because this window does not remain open for long. A study at Johns Hopkins reveals that the early cochlear implantation at 18 months of age dramatically improves the child's ability to understand and speak. So what care pathways we need? We need national screening programs to detect birth defects or otitis media. There's a huge burden of disease. So the cost analysis for best practices need to be done, and designated screening tools for the community use. Fortunately, we are coming, we have now a lot of devices available, like we had one program on teleotology yesterday. And as we can see here, we have to remove the barriers one at a time. This is the otoscope. Otoscope gives excellent visualization, but it has limitations where it cannot be given to the technicians. It has no monitoring facility, and plus we cannot record it. So this is an IntraView device, teleotology device from Medtronic. We have using it at we've been using at multiple centers, and I'll not go into detail of how it works, but it has, like, you can see this girl doing this screening in the field. This is an auto endoscope, which is a small endoscope which is integrated into the mobile camera. And then when she puts the speculum into the ear, it clicks a picture which automatically gets uploaded on the cloud. And one ENT surgeon sitting in the center can monitor 5 or 6 girls at one time, and also see the pictures that they've taken. And there is a straight referral for all the perforations. And it was slow for us. We launched it in 2013. But we've screened 2.2 lakh patients, and across India now we have screened with Medtronic has now 12 centers, and total approximately 1 million patients have been screened. And both these studies we have published in international journal. So this is the difference that they have shown. This is at the clinic and this is at the periphery. So we have a lot of things like that. They also have a teleaudiology app into that. So with 436 million people with hearing loss, as Dr. Agarwal mentioned, the incidence is highest in India. And no matter whatever technique we employ, how many surgeons we have to screen these people, it still remains the tip of the iceberg. This population still remains to be screened. And how are we really going to do it? So we at Shroff Charity Eye Hospital, our Department of ENT launched this program, and we have this group of trained technicians, like Dr. Seema also mentioned, that 12th pass students, they're all 12th pass, and they were trained in using this device. After 3 months course, they were sent in the field. What the advantage that we have is that we've railroaded the whole procedure on the vision centers. Since Shroff already has vision centers, so we have taken a corner for our ear work also, and in collaboration of CBM, we are doing a lot of work in this area. So this is our mobile van that caters to both eye and ENT needs. It has this examination chair unit and this device that this girl is using, and then you have we had one in our medical college also, so I am sure all of us are aware. So this was the first center that we launched in 2013. This is the Medtronic team from USA, and then we have now 4 at Mustafabad, Jahangirpuri, and Shiv Vihar. So this is the care that is given, which is accessible, affordable, and is continuous, provides excellent care, and it is comprehensive. So the solution for neonatal is a little different from adults. We already have such huge burden of hearing loss in adults and elderly. And now in neonates also, the risk is high and the rehabilitation is possible if they are picked up early. So this is an excellent program, NEEV program under Dr. Seema Kapoor, which has been launched in Delhi, and I'm sure it's going to be, it is one example of how universal neonatal screening programs can be launched across all the states in our country. So I feel, as ENT at least I feel, but now it's a new forum that has come up with pediatricians and gynecologists, that I thought it was our moral responsibility to detect early, but I think as gynecologist, it is now your first responsibility to detect early hearing loss in children, and also as pediatricians. And we develop a cadre of paramedics in our own capacity, equip them with flip chart device and other bases, and participate in this mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nishi, for the most relevant and needed talk. And your talk has surely brought new insight into the current research. And from all our mentors today, Dr. Sneela Garg, Dr. Seema Pruthi Kapoor, and Dr. Nishi, we will try to follow your advice and have some system into the pipeline which can assess our newborns with hearing defect. I'm really feeling blessed today, because when Srila ma'am told me to have a webinar, I was not really sure what I'm going to gain out of it. But I think our obstetricians and pediatricians would agree that this was so much needed webinar. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I request Dr. Bhushan Patil, the senior practicing ENT surgeon, to introduce Dr. Sanchi Sachdeva, who would be telling about the technical aspects. Welcome, Sanchi, and over to you, Dr. Bhushan.
Good evening, everybody. I think since last 1 hour, we all of us are hearing the importance of screening and detecting this hearing deficiency in a newborn. Other than, yes, gynecologist and pediatrician, I think the second most important part which a person would play in a child's hearing disorder would be an audiologist, because even a good audiologist is needed to screen a child properly and to gauge the problem. So here we have Dr. Sanchi Sachdeva, who is a senior audiologist, and she has a very long history of working in audiology industry. And as you can see, she is right now with Medtronic's lab as a senior audiologist. And she is a bachelor in audiology and speech language pathology, along with the speech language pathology, and she did this from Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University. Now I would request Dr. Sanchi to please go ahead with the presentation.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to bring me to this forum. I would just quickly share my screen. Today, obviously, it's World Hearing Day, and we are obviously talking about a very important topic, which is technical aspects on the newborn hearing screening. And I have been taking care of the technical aspects of neonatal hearing screening. Why it is important? We know that because if it's early detected, there will be no developmental delays, livelihood would be good, and quality of life will be good. And the other important aspect is, most important part of our life is communication. If we early detect it, with hearing, the ultimate objective is to communicate. Communication will be developed at time, and the child will be able to communicate, and there will be no developmental delays. I'll just not take much time. I'll just go to the next slide. When we talk about disease burden, everybody has talked about it, but I'll just put major focus on there. 3 to 4% prevalence for less than 4 years, which is huge if we talk about India, because there's a huge population. And WHO also mandates universal hearing screening, as well as our government programs also mandate the universal hearing screening. Quickly jump to the next slide. We know it's important, but why it's important to identify early? There's one of the authors who has done a lot of work in early detection of hearing loss, Yoshinaga et al. In one of the studies, she has actually pointed out only a significant variable identified to affect the development of language. A significant variable is the age of identification. For example, if a child is detected at the age of 5 years, the language will not be developed. The critical period is already passed on. And if the age he or she is developed at 6 months or a year, the child would have normal language development. Because we rehabilitate and we are able to give him amplification at right point of time. Then other important thing is, if the language is not developed, there will be low educational background also. The person will not be able to read and write. Many times we confuse in that if the person cannot speak, they can write or at least read, but that language aspect is also affected, because we know reading and writing is such an important task, because of which we won't be able to be independent. And the other important thing is, these days we talk about mental health, and that mental health aspect is also affected on any of the hearing impaired children if there is a delay. Then the most important thing here is hearing screening should be done at the universally at the time of discharge, and we should not actually push it after 2 years. It's important that we do it at the newborn, once the child is discharged from the hospital. We don't delay it any further. If it's delayed after after 2 years, there'll be developmental delays, and the child was not hearing for the 2 years of the life in the initial, if the child is detected at 2 years also. So the early identification is the key for all the newborn hearing screening. When I talk about the approaches, so there are a couple of approaches when we talk about, and we know India is a resource limited society. We need to work in a resource limited areas as we work in peripheries and communities. So there are a couple of measures which we talk about. Family questionnaires, like asking caregivers about what's the level, is this child babbles, he does baba baba or vocalizes, to understand if the child is hearing. Then behavioral measures like making noise makers and checking on responses of the face, whether he's blinking the eyes or giving any reactions. But these things are high false negative and false positive. So the ultimate test for any newborn hearing screening is physiological measure, which obviously we know, which is an autoacoustic emission or an automated ABR or an ABR. Both of the technologies are there in a very automated form also. Any unskilled worker with a trained can also use this device. WHO mandates that we should do a universal hearing screening up to age 4 for all the children. Then we go to newborn hearing screening. Initially, when the program got started in Western countries also and in India, everybody targeted on high-risk registers with all the issues with the peri or prenatal or like at the time of birth defects. Then after that, a JCI position statement said that we should actually focus on universal screening, not just on high-risk registers or on just high-risk babies or NICU babies. We should do it for all of them. So the most important key for us, the early hearing detection and intervention for us. So first important is we should get all the infants screened by first month of the age. Everyone should be screened. Second most important thing is by 3 months, the audiology assessment should be done. And by 6 months, the child should be having any amplification device, and a language development should start, because we understand from the developmental levels, at 9 months to 12 months of the age, the language comes up. At least one single word comes up from the normal language developmentals. It's important that we start rehabilitating by 6 months. If we know that cochlear implant would be taking some time, we should at least put a hearing aid and start rehabilitating on the language part as well as on the hearing part. So 1, 3, and 6 is really very important. And the most important part after that is supporting the parents, telling them it's not just important that we put the hearing and the child would start speaking. It's important that they should be educated on speech and language development. They have to actually work on the child. And as speech therapist or an audiologist, I can just guide parents. Ultimately, the language development happens from the family and the parents. If they don't do it, it won't happen. So we need to obviously educate them and counsel them to make them understand this will be only happening if you do it. Then we talk about what are the physiological tests. There are ABR, there is an autoacoustic emissions. Both are physiological screenings, non-invasive. Automated versions are available, because here I'm talking about just screening. I'm not talking about diagnostics. most important approach here is, everybody has mentioned from the senior faculty, that we need a public health approach for screening the babies. We don't require, like, because we have a very resources, very less resources, plus there's a dearth of audiologists also in the country. So we need to keep in mind that we can use the skilling the people around us, so they can use automated technologies and screen, and ultimately the referral goes to the audiologist or the doctor for the final assessment and audiological assessment and the treatment. But the first step has to be taken from a screening point of view and from a public health point of view. When we talk about both of these technologies, in a very simple terms, what they do is, in OEs, it's the peripheral auditory system is checked through the cochlea and outer hair cells. But when we talk about ABR, it's auditory brainstem response or brainstem evoked response audiometry. Here we check peripheral auditory system, 8th nerve, and the brainstem auditory pathway till the C-slim. So it checks all complete. So if I talk about gold standard, ABR is the gold standard. But we understand this, our country, everybody won't have ABR. So we need to figure out some ways in which we can use technology which is cost effective and large population can use it. And ma'am, as you Seema ma'am rightly mentioned about, NICU babies should go for an ABR, and for every other baby, they should go for an OE first level screening. If they fail, they can go to a second level screening of ABR or a ABR by first month of an age, so that we can diagnose each one of them by 3 months of the age. Recommended protocols by AIMS protocol, JCIH, everybody says that ABR we should do an ABR instead of an OE. Then there are different buckets which we screen in our community. We obviously have to divide when we work in communities. We can obviously divide it as rural belts or NICUs or high-risk babies, and the ultimately approaches universal hearing screening. These are the 4 buckets in which we can work and educate people in all the 4 buckets, so that people are aware and professionals are also aware about screening newborn hearing, doing newborn hearing screening, and how it's important, because language development only happens in 0 to 3 years. And I am an audiologist as well as I'm a sister to a congenitally deaf sister. She's 8 years younger to me, and I know that how difficult it is to go through that phase. If a parent is onto that phase, how they feel and what things are not there. It is like, has been like 18 years right now. She's of 18 years. I understand how important it is. And that only helps us to work. When I talk about what work I have been doing into this field, I want to really address this. I work for Shruti program in Medtronic Labs. We work from, we actually think of hearing screening for all from 0 years to geriatric by using the different technologies and using the public health approach in communities to screen babies as well as the individuals whosoever have a hearing loss. Early identification is the key, because if an aged population of it is not identified early, speech discrimination is affected, and the child and the person is not also be benefited from a hearing aid. So it's important in all the age groups we identify early. It's not about newborns, it's about elderly population also. When we talk about journey, which I have been with Shruti from all the years, as Dr. Nishi mentioned, Dr. Shroff Charitable Eye Hospital is the place where Shruti was born out of it. Then we obviously commercialized in 2017. Now we have a pan-India presence, and I'm very proud that we have done 1 million screenings, more than 1 million screenings, and we work in community-based models. Earlier, obviously, it was really difficult to convince people how these community programs work, but now people understand these community programs can work and really help us to early identify and skill the workforce for actual to take the people from community and rehabilitate it and send them into community, because these community people can actually help us to screen them early. Because when we go to communities, they know who is deaf, who is not deaf, who is having what problem. So it's important that we work in communities and give treatment in communities and increase our reach. These are some of the pictures which are from the field, and we are really working on newborn technologies also these days. And that's it from my end.
Thank you. Brilliant talk, Sachi. You are such a genius. All our best wishes. You are doing the best job one can do. And we are happy to have you on this very special day. And before we conclude, I would like to thank our mentor, our guide, Sunila ma'am. Ma'am, bless us always. And it's such a pleasure that you are always there to guide us. And our guest for the evening, Dr. A.K. Agarwal, sir. one thing I realized that everybody was just working from heart, and it was just dedication, which is really motivating. And Dr. Seema Kapoor, I mean, I can't tell you from the day one when we entered medical college, and I was just following you. And I'm very happy that today we are sharing the platform on this webinar, because this was my dream somewhere. And I'm really happy that you are here. And my lifeline, Nishi, my sister, who has always been, she's been there, tough time, good time, bad time. And I would like everybody to have a sister like her. And our esteemed chairpersons for the evening today, Dr. Kanwar Singh sir, who very generously agreed to chair the session in spite of his busy OPD schedule for the evening, Dr. Pavan Goel, Dr. Manish, and Dr. Bhushan. And our speakers, Dr. Sachi, you were really too good. So before I hand over to Deepika ji, team Jackson Pearl, for all the wonderful arrangement and organizing this webinar, if there are any questions or anything you want to add, Seema Di and Sunila ma'am or Dr. Nishi, or anybody wants to add anything or ask anything?
I just have a small comment to make. I think everybody spoke from the heart, and I say this for Sanchi and Nishi as well. So it's knowing your own people, your own way, and speaking your heart actually brings everything. So I think, Seema, it's your initiative. You took this up and gave us the platform to get together. So it's more of a reunion, I should say, bringing all of us live.
पहले ना initially Seema was just thinking कि मैम ने कौन सा topic बोल दिया, I said what hearing they है and all that, and then I said नहीं, because we are going to talk from the pediatrician's perspective, gynecologist perspective, and ENT people will join in whatever, whichever people will come in. So that's how we started this. And I'll tell you, from the day I told her, I thought hoga, it will not. But she was so serious on the whole thing. She really worked on the whole thing. And I'm really thankful to all of you, whom I can see. And they're about, I can see now there were more than 70 participants in between what I could see. It's really so good. And I bless this branch, and because I've been personally over there for the adolescent care also, as I was telling you, and also the program officer for Delhi also, Dr. Seema went along with me, and it was talking to girls, it was talking to boys about, the healthcare problems. It was really wonderful. So this branch, I really bless them with all my heart, and I feel they grow, every day. So it's really, thank you so much. And there's another meeting waiting for me. So it's been a long day,
So God bless all of you, and we are blessed to have you, ma'am, there with us.
Yes, ma'am. Very, very happy, ma'am. And over to you, Deepika ji.
एक virtual choy तो पिला ही दो सीमा.
My husband has sent this milk for me actually.
Next time हम virtual नहीं करेंगे सीमा. We have to go to Rewari.
आपने अच्छा initiative लिया, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You motivated Seema to do it, and I was telling her, really, another webinar. She said, yes, I will do it, and I am glad that we did it.
And special thanks to Deepika ji. I told her that ma'am wants a webinar. It was just a 3-day short notice, and she agreed. And really thankful to Deepika ji and team Jackson Pearl. So Deepika ji, you want to say?
Thank you. And you share with us the pictures also. We can put it on the national platform also. And I'll share some of them with WHO also, that this is the event which has happened. So that will be there. Okay?
Ma'am, I'll share it in the group.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, everybody, the experts present with us, the attendees who were here. Jackson Pearl brings to you Lycored soft gel, that is containing lycopene. Also, we have Jepitone iron syrup and cramp off tablets for relief from leg cramps. Along with me are my teammates, Dr. Vipin Tyagi and Mr. Amit Saxena, all of us conveying our thanks to all of you. And look forward to your presence again on 7th March when we have another webinar coming up. So please do note 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. Thank you very much and bye-bye.